There's not much I can read in this basement right now, actually.
What about that?
LA beer, dude. I got that.
Sponsored by LA Beer. Welcome to episode number 16, and we are back with Alex Whistance, a.k.a.
Big boy. Yeah.
Big Boy.
It's kind of a weird one. I moved to Georgia. I was like, I don't know. Do I go by this or do I not go by this? It's like, oh, man, I don't know. I kind of just let it do its thing. Some people say Big Boy. Some people say Alex.
Yeah,
I'm good with it all.
Whoever's calling whatever. It's good, yeah. Well, and so you've been on our program before.
Yeah.
The last time was the first time was at Barber Vintage Motorsports Fest.
Heck
Fantastic experience. But that was all we could talk about because it was just so loud and it's what we were doing, and so it made sense that that was the conversation. But today,
Yeah, it was cool. It was the first time you guys
it was
ever.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, what you were number 2 or 3 on the. You
I
were
don't
pretty-
remember. I just remember walking up there and being like, holy crap, they really went for it.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
basement, a la at the Barber.
This is cooler though. I'm not gonna lie.
It is, yeah.
This has got the vibe.
Colder too. I've been wearing many layers. So that to say, happy to have you here because unlike the last time, this time we get to talk a little more about you.
I don't know. I always get so weird with that. I'm like, people always ask, I'm like, tell me more. I'm like, yeah. It's like, not much.
No. Well, we touched briefly specific to BMX and we went a little that direction, but let's go a little further back. And talk about just the start of Alex. Because you're a funny guy, you're a smart dude, you got a good attitude, handsome dude, and so sometimes, a 6'4" hunk, you could be a dick.
Yeah.
But you're not, you're a nice guy. Why are you a nice guy?
I don't know, man. I think the real root of all niceness comes from the fact that I was a natural born Canadian, you know?
Oh, that's
so
right.
they just naturally in the blood to be saying sorry and being nice. But I mean, if we're trying to start, like, where do you want to start from? From the beginning of time to now? Like, what got me here?
I mean, just like what jumps out at me is like usually when you have to develop a personality is because there was, a few outliers.
No, I get it. So what happened was I remember we moved to, if I'm doing my math right, I was 6 years old. We moved to the States, and I was born in 1997. So it would mean we would have moved to the States in 2003, beginning or end, whatever it was. And I remember we moved to the States from Canada. My mom had got a job in pharmaceutical research, and that's what she did her whole life. My father was a pilot, but he quit his pilot's job to move to the States as well. So we kind of moved here. My mom was the only one who was working, and then I got put into like the school programs, and it was cool. Like it was.
This is New York?
No, this was Jersey. So I moved from Canada to Jersey, and I had grown up in like a smaller town in New Jersey, like Central Jersey. People debate whether it's a real thing or not, but it is because I lived there. It's like right dead in the center. And then fast forward down the road, like I had always, my parents got me here. They tried to get me into like the team sports and stuff like that. Wasn't too into it. But when I moved to the States, there's a kid on my block in Canada that had a skateboard, and I'd always wanted a skateboard. My mom would never let me do it. She was never like a helicopter mom. My dad was definitely not like worried about me at all. Like he was kind of down. Like he was, former Canadian Air Force. So like he had like a little bit of like that like badass vibe in him, down for a good time. But my mom was never a helicopter mom, but she was definitely, nervous about the skateboard. I remember when I moved to the States.
She's a great lady. We love you.
Yeah, my mom is the best. My dad, not so much, but that's a different story. But I can fully say it. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. But
tune in next episode where we talk about our parents.
Yeah, fuck, dude. No, that'd be a long one. But no, my mom is like the best person in the world, and I'll get into that too, like how much I owe everything that I have to my mom, and just like her support with everything. But so I got a skateboard when we moved here because when we moved to the States, it was very different. And like, it's not that I didn't like it. I just didn't know anyone. I didn't have any friends. I moved in this neighborhood. There was no kids around. I'm like, I had a cul-de-sac in Canada that we had all these friends on. I'd ride, like little bikes and stuff like that and play with the toys and all that. So then my mom was like, we're going to get him a skateboard. I turned 6 literally the second that we got into Jersey. It was like 2 weeks after we moved in. I was born on July 4th, and I turned 6. My mom got me my first ever skateboard. I remember going to the skate shop, picking it up, and that's kind of what started everything for me. So I got the skateboard, and I skated for probably like, I want to say like 2 years or something like that. And then out of nowhere, like I saw a kid at the skate park on rollerblades. And I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I started rollerblading. And then I did that for a little bit. And then I saw a kid at the skate park on a scooter. And I started doing some scooter stuff because it was really big and in. And then there was a kid on a bike. And I started doing some bike stuff. But what happened was I tried to do the BMX racing. And every time I get into doing BMX racing, there's a track near my house in New Jersey called the Flemington BMX track. And I'd go there. I remember, I saved up enough money and my parents matched it so I could get my first ever like BMX kind of bike. But it
Well,
was
in a
like
traditional, like an actual racing BMX bike, that's like what, $400 or $500?
yeah, well back then I think I got like this DK. I remember it was a DK. I don't remember what it was, but if I remember what it was, I think it was like $450 because I remember like I did a bunch of chores around the house and I got $200 saved up, and then my mom and my dad matched it, and they took me there and I bought it was a white DK, and like it was a BMX race bike, but it was very like middle of the ground. It wasn't
came
like a
with
full.
pegs.
No, it didn't come with pegs, but it wasn't a full-on race bike though. Like they had like crazy race bikes, and like the kids at the track had these bikes. I remember going to the track, like, but I didn't care. I was just like went to the track, and I was never jealous of any other kids' stuff. I never cared. I was like, I have a bike, I'm gonna ride it, and I went to the track. But I'd always do the races, and I'd always be trying to do like little tricks. And you're not so like sometimes you jump the jumps, and sometimes you'd like pull manual them. And I didn't care what speed I got around that track. I just wanted to jump the jumps. Yeah. All I cared about was jumping the jumps. And then this lady was at the track, and she's like, hey, your son seems to be super into this. There's a skate park nearby, a skate park called Shield Skate Park. I literally owe everything for my career and stuff like that to that original skate park because I went there.
You're saying Shields?
Shields, yeah. The guy named Paul Shields owned it, and rest in peace, he passed away of cancer like a few years ago. He was like that really like dickhead, like Red Foreman style dad to me, where he was at the skate park all the time. I was a young kid wreaking havoc, doing stupid shit, and he would always kind of keep me in line, and it was awesome. I ended up working at the skate park, but I rode my bike there for a little bit, and then my dad was like, we're not doing the bike anymore. You can either do the rollerblades, but you can't do the bike because I don't want to bring the bike in my car. So he like cut the bike out. So I was like, okay, well, the cards are dealt. I'll rollerblade. All I wanted to do was be at the skate park. So then fast forward, I went through the rollerblades, the scooter, and then I remember like a bunch of my buddies, when my parents ended up getting split up, and my mom was like cool with me getting another bike because I really wanted to ride bikes. And a bunch of my buddies were all going to Woodward, and I was 15 at the time, and I was signed up to go there.
So you had been racing BMX, and then that had transitioned to more actual bike.
Yeah, because I transitioned out of the racing to take the bike to the skate park. Then my dad said I can't use the bike at the skate park anymore, but I just wanted to be at the skate park, so then I just started rollerblading, skating.
Well, because I like, from what I know of Woodward, you got to be reasonably proficient at whatever sport you're into to go do anything there.
Yeah, I mean, like, yes and no, because Woodward was like an action sports camp. So what it ended up having to come down to was like my mom, like, again, that's why I say I owe everything to her. It's like Woodward wasn't like.
She also birthed you.
Yeah, she birthed me, so that's great. But Woodward wasn't cheap. Like I remember being like a kid and like wanted to go to Woodward. And I think at the time when I was a kid, it was like $800 for a week.
Oh shit.
And then you got to like give your kid money for food. So like I think my mom would give me like $100 for food for the week, and that would like kind of cut it. You got food there included with the $800, but you'd had $100.
Are you sleeping there?
Yeah, it's a sleepaway camp for a week. Now it's like $1,500 a kid. But I remember when I was a kid, it was $800, something like that. And my mom sent me there, and it was like I was supposed to go there for rollerblading and scootering. And I remember being like, my mom was like, you can, I had a bike, and I had some friends at the skate park kind of pulled together some parts for me. And they're like, you should come with us as a bike rider for bike week. This is 15 years old. And I remember being like, I'm doing it. I told my mom, I'm switching my camp week. I'm going to the bike week with them. It's going to be awesome. And that basically just like paved the path for me. I remember being 15, going to Woodward on a bike, and I was like okay at rollerblading, I was okay at doing the scooter stuff, and I was like okay at skating. But something about the bike had clicked. Like ever since I was a little kid, I'd always ride mountain bikes and try to jump them.
Were you big boy at this point, or were you?
Dude, 15, I wasn't peak male performance yet of being the level. So that's what happened. I went to this Woodward thing. Then what happened was a year after I went to Woodward, I got super into BMX. I started learning all these tricks, learning like the flares, the bar spins, the tails, trying to learn all this stuff. Shield shut down.
Oh.
The skate park shut down, and I was like, I think I was in my junior year of high school, and I was like, well, now what? And then that's where like I could have went down two different avenues, and this is where I owe it all to my mom, because if it wasn't for her, I don't really know exactly where it could be. Because like, I remember being like junior in high school, skate park kids weren't the best. The skate park closed down, and then it's like all these kids are like, oh, we still want to hang out with each other, and it turned into like the smoking, the weed, the party, and all that stuff. And I remember being like, I don't really want to do that. Wasn't too into it. Like I tried to do the whole weed smoking thing, and I was like tripping all the time about anxiety and stuff. I was like, I'm not into this. I don't like it. And then I remember my mom found out we'd known about a skate park called the Incline Club, and it was an hour and a half away. And my mom, at this point, it was just me and my mom. She was raising
hour and
me.
a half from Central Jersey?
Yeah, from where we were. We had to go to the shore.
Yeah.
And my mom, she at this point, my parents were divorced, and it was my mom raising me. And she killed it, but she worked in a town that was an hour away from our house already. So she would leave for work at 6 o'clock in the morning, get there at 7. And she'd leave work at 5, get home at 6. and put my ass in the car and drive me an hour and a half. And she did this for my entire junior year to go to this skate park called the Incline Club, because I was like getting better on the bike and having more fun, and I was doing this stuff, and it was just progressing at a level that like was kind of fun, and like I felt it was just like my happy place.
Yeah.
And she saw that, and like parents splitting up, all that stuff, she just wanted to be like a good support unit. So until I got my license, it like I didn't go every day, but dude, it was like a solid 4 or 5 days a week. She would do that after work and everything like that. So I owe it all to her for that, like 100%. And then the second I got my driver's license, I almost didn't even live in my town anymore. I would just go to high school, and I'd end up staying up. I met a buddy, like my buddy Maddie, his parents, the Kramers, owned the Incline Club. So I became really, really close with Maddie, and then I ended up becoming really close with his older brother, Scotty. And that's kind of where the BMX blossomed into a career, because I started doing like the YouTube videos. But at this point, I was just about to go into college. And this is like that transitional phase between the skate park shutting down. That's where the big boy came in. I ended up becoming a very, very large individual, weighing like, I think when I stopped weighing myself, I was like 18 years old or 19 years old. Yeah, no, 18. I was like 306 pounds, and I just like, I'm not weighing myself anymore. But I mean, I'm 6.
How tall were you? You were.
I was 6'4". So like, but still, dude, like I was.
Because Woodward was hooking you up with the sweet treats.
Dude, when I would go to the Incline Club, they had a snack bar there, dude. And I remember my buddy Maddie would like legitimately like cut me off from Big Texas's. He's like, yo, dude, he's like, you're eating too much. And I was just like, I love it, it's great. But I ended up getting super, super fat, and I can say that because I was fat. And it wasn't until I got into college, I started doing this.
Say that if you're fat, you're allowed to say you're fat.
Yeah, I was fat as hell, dude. Like it was not good. It was real bad. I'm sure you can find a photo and you'll put it in here. It was not a good time for sure. But I was still shredding the bike, having a good time. Like it didn't seem to like really like bug me that much. But now, knowing what I know now, as soon as I started losing that weight, I got infinitely better on my bike.
Well, so transitionally from like 16 into 19, you had blossomed into a bigger boy.
Yes.
You had realized somewhere along that path that wasn't for you.
What happened was, but this is the thing about it, man. It all happened for a reason, because Maddie's older brother, Scotty, and me became really close. We ended up starting this YouTube challenge together, and it was kind of like me, Maddie, Scotty, and a bunch of other guys at the skate park. And that's where like the thing was, like I had always been really into watching YouTube videos. And I was helping his older brother move from a house to another house when he was moving houses. And I was watching at the time, because I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't know how to do it. I was watching like Bradley Martin vlogs. Okay. And he's like, what are you watching? I'm like, oh, dude, it's super cool. This dude uploads daily vlogs. And I watch them, and it's super badass, and I just watch every day. He's like, you do that? People do that? I go, yeah, dude. I was like, yo, we should do that with you. Because he was like 9 times X Games gold medalist, super bad, like one of the most badass BMX riders of all time. And I remember being like the kid who would film stuff at the skate park, being able to do stuff, and like me and my buddy Maddie would make edits all the time and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, we could do this. All we need is a camera and some time. And I was like, we could do this no problem. Yeah. I was like kind of going to college, kind of not going to college. Like I was doing it, and I didn't really like it.
Big
I'm like,
finance guy, huh?
Yeah, I was like, well, that's what I went to school, was for business marketing, and it sucked. It was terrible. And I remember like I was going into college that year, and I was like, that summer before I went into college, like we should start this. And he went away on a trip. He said no at first. He went away on a trip, and he came back. He's like, all right, let's do it. And we started it. And I remember that whole summer we'd filmed for 3 months, no traction really. And it wasn't until I went into college, we filmed some videos, and with the dynamic of it, where I say it was like everything happened for a reason, him being like the crazy high-level pro, me being the chubby kid that was like pretty good on a bike, but obviously was being held back by the fact that I was chubby. Like I was gassed out like after every run and just like not doing as good as everybody else. But like the dynamic between those two things came together to be so well, and it like created this like thing that we never thought it would happen. And then what ended up happening was I went to college, and I remember, dude, the moment specifically. I went into college, and I remember I got invited to my first college party, and I walked in this basement of this college house, kind of similar to a basement like this, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm sitting there and I'm like looking around, and all these girls and these dudes were mingling and doing all that stuff.
I do not have any college girls in the band.
No, perfect. It was good then. That's good. There might be back there, but we're not sure. And then I remember just like walking around and just seeing all these guys and girls, and I'm like, there's not a single girl in there even remotely like looking my direction. I go, fuck it, I'm losing weight. And I remember it was that moment in time. The next day, there was a kid that lived in my dorm room, and he was jacked as shit. And I go, dude, what do I gotta do to lose weight? And my other buddies had tried to help me lose weight in the past. Like they would cut me off the snack bar. I was like, I don't care. It wasn't until I saw that moment. So that's why I say, like, I hated college. I wish I never went, but at the same time, I kind of glad I did because I think it was like an eye opener. Where I just wanted to get girls. That was it. I was really like, there was no like crazy meaning behind it. Like I felt like it wasn't for my health. I didn't give a crap about that because I'd ran it for so long. I didn't care to get better on a bike because of that either because I was like, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. And I was like, I know it's funny for the videos, but then I ended up getting into this thing where I started losing weight and that helped the channel too.
Yeah.
So then now we went from like, we had like 100,000 subscribers.
Well, don't sell yourself short. It's not just a shallow thing. Like when you build your self-esteem for your own self-worth, then obviously it's gonna pay dividends.
Yeah, I mean, it just like I infinitely felt better as a human, and like
chicks were a byproduct.
Yes, it was, and then the problem was too. Like I didn't do anything with it anyways. I was still just such a, I don't know, man. I was just like wasn't good at it. I was like, I don't understand.
Not a Casanova, huh?
I just didn't care. I just didn't want to be fat anymore, and I was like, oh, I want the idea that I could get a girl, but at the same time, I was so interested in my bike and the YouTube channel that a girl could come up to me, and this happened in college, be like, let's go on a date, and I would just be like, I don't have time. And it was because I was so hyper-focused on the YouTube stuff and doing that it did not matter anything else what happened. Then fast forward, we started doing it, and like we went to California, and I fell on the Pacific Coast Highway with one of my buddies, and I ate shit, and that video went viral. And we went from like 200,000 subscribers at this point to like 500 in 2 weeks. It just exploded. We're all like, what the hell? And that's how YouTube used to work back in the day. It was like random stuff like that could happen, and it would just explode, and it was awesome. That was like kind of the kickstart, and like it was like, again, like the reason that YouTube channel worked so well and it was so good, and that's how I found my avenue in BMX, was like I knew I would never be as good as like the guy like Scotty, and I also didn't want to be. Like I never really loved competing. I didn't like the pressure of it. I didn't like that. I like to be more creative with it. So like the dynamic of all of us doing our thing, I was like, oh, this is a really good avenue. So then my buddy Scotty ended up getting hurt, had a really bad accident, and then like it was like he ended up being paralyzed from the neck down, deemed a quadriplegic. I was there. I filmed it. It was in Las Vegas. It sucked. It was like one of the worst experiences of my life. Then he ended up leaving the trauma center in Vegas, and they brought him to a place in New Jersey, and he was there for 6 months. And I remember for 6 months, I had to go back and forth every day, and I remember talking to his wife and all his family, and like we had to keep the YouTube videos going because here's how it works in BMX. Like, he didn't go to college, he didn't do any of that stuff either. So it's like BMX was his life, and it's like all he had. So it's like you can squeeze a fruit, right? Like if you can keep squeezing that orange, the sponsor's going to keep paying you. But the second that orange dries up, they're not going to pay you anymore. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, how can we like do this where it sets up like a longevity for like someone like that in a situation like that? I was like, if we keep this going, I was like, I think we can make it work. So I got together with all the guys at skateboard. I was like, hey, this isn't stopping here. We're taking this thing and we're running with it. And I remember the week after that happened, I was trying to do like the school and the YouTube and the filming, and I was filming, editing, and all that stuff, and going to school full time. And I remember being like, I was like, something's got to go. I was like, I think that the school will always take my money. I go back to it. I walked in the guidance counselor like 2 weeks later at the college that I went to, which was Monmouth University, and I dropped out right then and there. I did not tell my mom. I remember calling my mom after I filled out all the paperwork, and I was like, I just dropped out of college. I'm going to do this YouTube stuff. And she was livid, dude. This is the only unsupportive moment that she's ever had, and she was just like, that's ridiculous. I don't think it'll work. Yeah. And it was like we had a little moment of like brief couple months of like, But I knew that if I put enough focus in it, and the thing was, it wasn't about being successful. It was the fact that like I had the things that motivate me aren't like money or financials. It's more like goals and aspirations. And I was like, I think I can make this work. And then the underlying thing of like having it to be like ultimately support somebody in the future to kind of give them something. I was like, that made me go so much harder because it wasn't just for me. It was for multiple people. Like that channel helped support a lot of things, like my buddy's parents' bike shop, his family, like things like support, like just like it helped a lot of things. And like obviously like down the road, I ended up like doing really well with it, and it worked out. And then I eventually started my own YouTube channel, and things worked out great. But it was just one of those things where like I just kind of did it, and like I think my personality of like always having that was one from my mom, and then two being a fat kid.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care about the shit that normal people cared about. Like I had fat kid confidence, and I wasn't ever.
To jump back to the beginning, that's what I was asking. I was like, when did you develop a personality and not just
I just think that like just being.
Because you were a fat kid.
Yeah.
You had to.
Being fat was just one of those things where you're like, damn, that's crazy.
I wish you were funnier though.
I think I was. When I used to be able to truffle shuffle, dude, I would truffle shuffle on anybody. I remember going to Woodward camp. There's a visiting pro there. I'm not going to say his name, but he was visiting pro there, and I got dared by a bunch of buddies to go to the Bud's Barn, which is where all the pros stayed. And I just got done with a super great session, sweaty as all hell, and I truffle shuffled over him. And it was like for a julep at the Woodward Cantina, and it was just that would just only escalated my fatness too. It's so good. Like juleps were these like wonderful creations of these like sweet like smoothie drinks at Woodward. Okay.
I'm picturing like a bunch of kids with jewels.
No, like a julep was like this is way cooler than a jewel, dude. Okay. A julep was like get a strawberry.
I don't know how you guys get down over
there.
Or
a lemon julep, dude. Oh my god, I'm getting hot sweats right now.
Damn, as you suck down your C4.
0 cal though, we changed.
Yeah,
Still like the sweetness, but we like the.
Yeah. 0 sugar.
I had a buddy's dad one time say that the 0 calorie stuff. He goes, "Cancer don't got calories," and that really resonated with you,
you know?
Yeah.
So you had developed a channel with your buddy that still remained successful. You had developed your own, and then you had just continued kind of escalating in that path of whatever pro career that exists as, right?
Yeah, it was kind of just different. Like I think like it's so funny looking back at it now.
There's no formula. Like there isn't like a blueprint.
When me and my buddy started that first one with our friend group, there's very few people that done it. There's like one other dude that did it, and it didn't really like. And honestly, like anybody who was like a core BMX rider was like, that's whack. Okay. But in my head, I was like, I think that the getting more eyes on BMX is only going to help the industry in doing that. It's another avenue. Like every one of these BMX riders would rely on like contests and stuff like that. And like X Games was like the Super Bowl of like the BMX community. And if you didn't win, you didn't win. And all you have is next year. Yeah. And if you don't win the next year, so it's like it became like that thing where I was like, how can you like create a way to be successful, draw in brands to help support you and the ideas, but then also ultimately bring more eyes to the sport that you're in to help support the sport that you're in.
Just a sustainable.
Just a sustainable like path, yeah, without having to like have the pressure of like winning the Super Bowl every year, which we all know isn't. But the thing is, the difference between basketball and football players and BMX riders is we're not on a steady contract no matter what. Like some guys have like sponsors like the Monsters and stuff like that, and like I have had certain scenarios like that, and they're awesome. But again, anything can change. It's like you could be riding the best, and if like someone decided like we don't really need it anymore, you could just get dropped. So it's like, how do you create something that doesn't rely on anybody else other than yourself? So we did that, and then I remember like the whole thing with like my buddy continued to do it, and he was successful with his, and then we had split separate directions. We just had like different areas we want to live in. Like we both moved to Florida.
This was you and
my buddy Scotty.
You and Scotty.
I
so
fell in,
like you'd been growing up at this point.
Yeah, at this point I bought my house.
How long ago was this?
I bought my house in when I was 22. I'm 26 now, so 4 years ago. And I remember I bought my house, and I fell in love with Florida. We moved to Florida, and I fell in love with it, dude. I was like, this is my place. Like I never really liked New Jersey. Like it was cool, and I like aspects of New Jersey, but like it was just like the cold sucked, and you only had a certain amount of months you could ride, and all that stuff was just tough. Yeah. So I remember moving to Florida. I'm like, this is great. Other than the rain for like an hour a day in the summer, I was like, this is awesome. And he wanted to go back to Jersey, and he wasn't sure about the whole Florida thing. And I was like, well, I think this might be a good point where we, grow up and move on. And like it was a really weird thing at first, and obviously people who watch the videos were really like strange, weirded out by it. But like again, like it was super hard, but it's like one of those things in life where it's like you're all on your own path, and it all takes us somewhere different. At that time, Florida was a thing, and then fast forward 4 years later, now I live in Georgia. Yeah, you know what I mean. So, but the thing is, it's like you learn, and that was like the thing. But go back to the personality thing. I've always just been a person who just like is just kind of down for whatever, and I just go with the flow. Yeah. And like wherever things kind of seem to ping pong me, I just go with it. But when I go with it, I go like 100% in. Well, there's like no half or not.
What was there obligation or expectation? Like when you made your change and you're like, well, I'm just gonna stay in Florida. Like, why wouldn't you be able to stay in Florida and do what you want to do? Like, were you contracted to a thing? Or?
No, there was never a contract, which was bad on my part. I was just too young. I never did that.
You wouldn't know if you don't know.
I didn't know. I mean, like the other thing too, like
that should be a class they offer at Woodward. Dealing with contracts.
They should offer a lot of these classes just in high school and not algebra, because I don't use algebra ever, but I definitely use a lot of this business stuff nowadays, which I wish I could have learned about younger. But no, it wasn't a contractual obligation. It was just more of like a mental obligation, I guess you could say. Like I had a bunch of friends in Jersey, and then like me and my buddy had done that for, I think it was like 6 years at that point we did the channel for. So it was just like, it was my life. Like I didn't know anything different than it. And then I'm like, well, what if I stay in Florida and I try to do this thing on my own and it fails? And I'm like, well, you know what? Again, you never know until you try. And I remember like staying in Florida, and I just went, we had always had a very PG style YouTube channel. And when I went in Florida, I fully embraced every Florida man aspect of it. And I was like, we are going balls to the wall, and it is going to be like blowing up cars, riding our bikes on cars. Like, again, all stuff that we had purchased and stuff like that. And I did it on the privacy of my own property, which also got me in trouble, even though I tried to do it the most like careful way possible.
Yeah.
But it just went fully like the other way. And then I think I just hit a point where like, as much as I did the YouTube stuff and I liked doing the camera stuff, I think I realized at a certain point, I remember like I turned like 25 and I kind of remember the day specifically. I was filming a video and I was doing the normal like YouTube thing, doing an introduction of the video. And I remember I had this like moment of like thought where I'm like, how am I going to do this for? Like, I never liked, it sounds so hard to say. Like I was okay with being on camera and I liked it, but I didn't like the YouTube comments. I didn't like the way that people use social media. I don't like how social media consumes everyone's life. And I had like this weird moment where like, I feel like I'm a part of the problem. And like, I hated how much my phone would like consume me. I hated how like every single day I was never living in the moment and was always focusing on the videos and the content and this, that, and the other. And it was like, it's so weird to say, but it's like, it took me, after moving here, like when I first moved here, I'd go to a skate park and I would not bring my camera. I would just go ride. And I'd be like, oh, I could be filming this. I should be filming this. And I realized everything I did, we'd film everything. Everything we did, we'd always film because it was always content. And then the next thing you know, now you're realizing like, oh, people are not watching your stuff as much. Now you start doing stupider and stupider and stupider shit. And then eventually you're like, oh, you're at a point where it's like, it's just gotten out of hand. But that's the problem is like nowadays with the way the internet works is people like to watch other people do either negative stuff, bad stuff, shit that's going to get them in trouble. And I think I just was like, I'm done. I'm over it.
Well, I mean, that's a healthy, introspection, just like a self-awareness that can, one, see the longevity of the career. And it's like, if you don't see where you could take that long term, then obviously you got to start pivoting and making some diversified decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's already pragmatic and good. But then to acknowledge, like, wait a minute, I don't even like how I'm operating in my own world.
It was just weird, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like you've had moments like that in your life where you see yourself around certain people and doing certain things, and you're just like, what the heck is going on? Like you kind of lost the grasp of it. And I remember just being like, I was like, I don't know how to describe it. Like don't get me wrong, I owe everything I have to legitimately YouTube. Like it was awesome. It was so much fun. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It taught me so much. Like I had a merchandise company at one point in time.
Well, sorry to interrupt, but would it be fair to say it's not that you changed, it's that when YouTube and all those social dynamics changed, like the algorithms, the AdSense,
that's
like
it.
You didn't change, they went and changed. You're like, yo, I used to be the thing and now you are something different. I'm not a TikToker.
Yeah.
I'm not
and
even
that's
100%
it. Like no matter what, I never like this is one thing that I think I could go out there and say. And like I think if you met anybody who had followed me in the past and had met me in person too, the way I was on the videos was exactly the way I was in person. There was no like acting. Right. There was no like YouTube magic. There was none of that. I was who I was, and I never wavered from it. And that was like the thing. Like I was the dorky. I had that fat kid still in me, and I still do to this day. I can make fun of myself. I can let people make fun of myself. I don't care. I don't get bent out of shape about stuff. I've never cared. Yeah. But one thing I was never gonna do is I was never gonna like go out of my way to like do like the, hey guys, we're here today doing this, and like I just couldn't do it. And then I watched like these YouTubers that were super successful, where they're just doing these like ridiculously cringy things. And then I saw the TikTok stuff come out, and I'm like, everyone's like, you need to make a TikTok, and I'm like, I know I need to, and I know it would have been very, very helpful, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. And like, I've always been in the mindset that you have to love what you do, otherwise it'll never work. Because if you don't love something that you're doing, then you're doing it and it like becomes like work. Like if I wanted to do that, I'd go work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like it would be way less stressful. Yeah, there might not be as like much random economic gain that you could have, but at the same time, there's way more financial security in working a 9 to 5. Yeah. You know what you're showing up to. Your boss doesn't change the algorithm every 5 seconds. Like you're like, hey, you work this amount of hours, you get paid this much amount of money. it would have been way easier. But I was like, I always like to put myself in stuff that I'm passionate about. If I'm not passionate about it anymore, I can't do it.
Well, and I think I'm just reading Rick Rubin's book. He's a big music producer, and he associates so much of his creativity to the idea of like the art he puts into it is for himself.
Yeah.
And if he's not doing it for him, he's doing it for someone else, it's probably going to fail. It's not going to be any good. And so the more that you can be you in whatever it is you're doing, that's where you'll find success. Equally, all the growth that you want will coincide with that, and it's to hear you say it's like, well, you don't love what you do, then what you're doing is going to do you.
Yeah,
so
and
you got to keep
burn your dude. It's like it's like such a thing nowadays. It's like the burnout, and that's like I have friends who like would like love to get involved in it back in the day, and like I would always like include all my friends in all the stuff that we did, and I tried to like do this stuff, and it's like, but like. Just the social media landscape has changed so much, and it's become such a weird space where I'm like, I'm not into it anymore. And then like, that's why like, I didn't have. That's the thing. Like, I moved to Georgia to get into the stunt game, and I didn't have to. Like, it wasn't one of those. It was a lifelong dream of mine, and I was like, I'm gonna try to do this eventually, but when is the right time? And I left a perfectly good. Like, I didn't stop YouTube because it wasn't financially stable. Like, I was doing the thing and it was working, and I was figuring out avenues. I did a lot of, when the algorithm changed and monetization on YouTube was terrible, I started selling merchandise, and I started a merchandise company. I packaged all the shirts at my house by myself, figured out how to set up all this stuff. I mean, it's not rocket science, it was super easy. And I figured out how to like start the LLC and do all that stuff and make it like an actual like little bit of a business at my house and figure out how to do things. And it was just me, and then like a bunch of my friends in Florida that would film the videos with me, and we just do cool stuff. And it was working. I could have just kept doing it, and I was just like, but I didn't have the passion or drive for it anymore. And I was like, I have a goal in my mind that I want to do, but I'm scared to do it. And it was the same thing when I was dropping out of college. I had a goal that I wanted to do, but I was scared to do it, and I just had to pull the Band-Aid off and go for it. And that's the same thing I did with here, but it was like the same thing with the weight loss too. So I think it's like, it's so weird to say this, but it was like, I've realized a pattern in my life, and this is going back to the way original question of the video of like this podcast was like, what kind of established your thing? I was like, I honestly like a credit like being fat to like all of this stuff, because going from being 300 something pounds to like forcing yourself to just push and push and push, knowing that eventually if you work hard enough, you could get to that end goal and you will see the results of it, and they'll be mind blowing. Like if I could tell 16-year-old myself now that, hey, you would be 6'4", like a lean 210 pounds with like abs and feel healthy, I would I would laugh back then. But then all of a sudden I started doing it and it worked. And I just didn't waver. I would be on a strict diet, wouldn't party, wouldn't drink, wouldn't do any of that kind of stuff. And I was super strict about it. And then I think now I'm like, that's everything that I've done in my life is the same exact thing, where it's like, if you want something bad enough, if you just go for it and you don't give up, like people always say, like, I hope it works out. Make it work out. Like, don't give it an option not to work out. Don't be an asshole. That's like the first thing. Yeah. If you're not an asshole, and again, I credit that to being fat. Like, if I would have like went to college and been like a freaking handsome guy or something like that, and I got all these girls and stuff like that, and I never had to struggle for that kind of stuff, I probably would end up being like a doucher. Yeah. But like, I was never like that. I always was like, I had to like win people over when I was fat, not by like any of these superficial things. It had to be just straight personality. And my old go-to is always just to try to like be light and funny and fun, and always just like ask people about themselves and try to learn more about people, because I didn't want people to ask questions about me, because I'm like, I didn't feel like that impressive or anything like that. So I'd always try to ask people questions about them, and it's like, I just realized it's like, as long as you're not an asshole and you try as hard as you possibly can at something, it'll work.
Well, so I hear you say, you credit so much to like your weight and then the ability to lose it, then have the clear, payoff of that thing, and that's represented so many different ways in your life, and that's something similar with me, where it's just like the scary thing is always the unknown. It's like, you know what happens when you drink your juleps every day. You know what to expect. You're like, I'll be this fat and I'll do these tricks and I'll be kind of funny. But you don't know what it is to go do the hard thing, lose the weight. You don't know what that life looks like, dude. And so it's scary. So you went and did it, and you go, oh, fuck, it works, tight. And so then you've been applying that in so many different ways in your life. If it was moving to Florida, like, I don't know how it's going to go. I know what to expect if I stay in Jersey. Yeah, you go, dude. But I want something different. And so it's scary, and you jump head first.
I moved to Florida in a van because I couldn't afford an apartment in Florida. My buddy bought a house, and I moved to Florida in a van.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, all right, we're doing it. I lived in a van for a year and a half in the state of Florida. I would shower in freaking fountains before I'd go on dates with girls. It was hilarious. Again,
You can stop doing that now, by the way. Like we got
I know. I still like, I go to Lake Altoona, I'll go jump in there, and I probably wouldn't shower for another 2 days. You know? But that's just the old BMX in it.
Well, so to fast forward, you're still doing that again. Is that you were in Florida, you saw the path and what it was doing. You go, okay, I see what's going to happen if I stay here and do this.
Yeah.
And now you're in that next phase.
Yeah, I mean, so again, like I don't really care because now I'm past it. But like, I have some really, really amazing friends and family in Florida that I will love and hold near and dear to my heart forever. But at the same time, there was definitely some negative influences there. And I just like, it wasn't me. It wasn't who I was. I'm not negative at all. I try to see the positive in everything. And I knew, I was like, I have this dream and I have this goal. And it was to, like, I wanted to be, like, when I was a kid, you'd watch movies and you'd see these, like, stuntmen do these crazy things. And, like, I was the kid who would take a pair of rollerblades at the top of my hill. I have a ramp at the bottom made out of sketchy wood, and I just launch it into the grass off of a hill and just like hope for like whatever and just ragdoll in the grass. And like I always loved that stuff, and I was like, how cool would it be to eventually be this thing? I was like, but how do you do that? Like, how do I be that guy in that TV that's doing that thing where he's getting thrown through a glass window? Like, how do you do that? There's no way.
And then a question because I don't know. You know, people may see your experience and be like, well, and then all of a sudden you're a stunt guy. But wouldn't it be that the pros from your world, BMX, would be sought out for actual film commercials? Like, isn't that a part of that experience? So then you would have seen that along the way?
Yeah, like I think that like back in the day, it was more of a thing where like you'd see, like I remember seeing like guys that I'd look up to when I was a kid, like on Verizon commercials, and that was like kind of like them using that. But like, I just think that like, to be completely honest with you, like I don't know for sure, but like now kind of being involved in it a little bit, I don't really think there's like a lot of like BMX stunts that are needed as much as there once was. Like I don't think like action sports are as prevalent, so I don't think that those opportunities come up as much. I'm sure if they did, I mean that'd be awesome, but like I don't think they come up as much. But I always remember being like, I just remember just being like looking at the TV and seeing these movies and watching this and I was like, man, that's a dream. Like it like literally felt like a dream that couldn't happen. And then I remember just sitting in Florida, and I was just like, I'd see like there's 2 other former BMX riders that had got into it. And I remember just seeing them and I'm like, I mean, that's crazy. Like they did it. Like I wonder how you do it. And I remember like someone telling me like, you just got to move to one of these 3 states. And I was like, 2 weeks later, we packed up and we moved to Atlanta, and I never looked back. And like at first I was like, I don't know if this will work. And then I just remembered, no, like just make it work. Like you can make it work. Like no matter what, you just got to try as hard as you possibly can, put in the effort. And I knew, but here's the thing though, like people when I moved here, like, why don't you still do the YouTube? Like, why did you stop? And this is like same thing. I could be wrong for this. This could be the first, it could not work out. I have no idea. I'm going to, like I said, just make it work, right? But like I could be wrong about this part. Like maybe there would have in a world where I could be like see the past. Maybe doing YouTube and this would be a good thing. But I said, if I'm going to move to this state, and I'm going to invest, change my life, literally like change my life path, like I have done in the past before, and try something completely different, and go for it, I got to be 100% in. It's the same crossroads that I faced when I was like doing the YouTube and the college. Okay, college could lead me this way, and YouTube could lead me this way. This one could still eventually be here when I get back. Who knows? Like the college was the answer. Like college, they'll always take your money, but YouTube is timed. It's now, and I need to try to go for it. And it lasted 10 years. That was 8 years longer than I ever thought it was going to last. I remember telling my mom once she finally got over me dropping out of college, I was like, I'll give it a solid 2, and then I think we'll be good. And it lasted 10 years, and I couldn't believe it. And it could have kept going, but then I remember hitting this crossroads again. I moved here, and I remember I moved here, I was like, should I go to the skate park and make a YouTube video, or should I figure out how to do this, like get involved in this industry and just put my 100% all into it? And I remember being like, no, it's the same thing as college. You're dropping out. And I dropped out of it, and I still like ride my bike all of the time. I just don't put much of an emphasis on trying to go out there and film it and do the stuff because I'm so hyper focused on this industry now and trying to understand the inner workings of everything, and then also just like getting better at the stuff that I suck at, and like obviously never doing fights for TV or film or any of that kind of stuff. It's such a learning curve, but I'm like, the only way you learn it is by doing it. So I just got super hyper focused on it. And again, like I said, it could be the incorrect way to do it. I probably could have done both, but in my head, I was like, I've done this in the past.
Well, so I think that's the thing. There is no incorrect way. There is your way.
Yeah.
And then there's everyone else's way that they think is the right way.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it that way, and so you're doing it wrong, which is like, no.
Yeah, and then
We're doing
the
it
thing
different.
is too, it's like me and my girlfriend joke about this all the time, and it's like, I mean, you're my friend. Anyone who's my friend knows this. Like, I get super hyper fixated on things. Like I remember talking to Sam. This is so funny. I remember talking to Sam. I was trying to figure out what termite control I wanted for my house. And like for 3 weeks, I like studied everything. I could tell you anything about the type of subterranean termite that is in Georgia that could possibly affect the ground workings of your home and how you could combat it. Can you do it by yourself? It's like, I could do this by myself, or I can hire a company and then I get bonded. Like
you got that firsthand experience just staying under there all day.
I got
you
super
could just call
hyper.
Alex at any point of the day.
I'm in my crawl space.
He's in his crawl space. You're like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You're like, well, I'm in the crawl space.
Yeah, when I bought my house here, I just decided, I was like, I've never seen a crawl space before. I was like, I really need to understand how all this works. And I was like, oh, all the pipes are down here. This is kind of cool. Like, I get this. And I was like, okay, this is where I figured out, like, not even joking, like, this is where I say I get super hyper fixated on things. It could be a blessing or it could be an absolute terrible thing. I don't know. Like, I definitely notice sometimes it really, 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 like, hinders me, where I'm like, why am I sitting in my crawl space trying to figure out where every water pipe goes to and following all this stuff? I'm like, what am I doing this for? But like, if a pipe bursts in my house now,
you're ready.
I'll know, dude.
Yeah.
I got it. But that's the same thing I apply to like this stuff. It's like, I remember like, and that's the thing that's so hard is people be like, you did this thing and you don't do it anymore, but why? And I'm like, because I'm focused on this now. And it's not because I don't want to do that thing or it wasn't working. It was working great, but I just said to make this thing work and to have the ultimate dream that has been like a fairy tale idea in my head become a reality, I have to do the same thing that I did for the previous goal to this goal. Otherwise, I don't think, and this is again, my personal opinion, if I don't go 100% into this thing, I don't think it'll work. I think if I 50-50'd it would be, I think it just, I don't know if it would, I don't know if it would work. I just know from my personal experience, if you put 100% of your effort in something and you give it no other option to work, you could try your hardest to make something work.
Yeah.
Now, and again, like, then the other thing is too, it's like, I could be wrong, but I always believe it. Like, you're in life going down a path, and there's certain things that happen along the way that ping pong you off of the wall, and it'll eventually spit you out and point you somewhere you need to go. But if you just trust it, but at the end of the day, like if you trust it and you know within yourself that you're trying as hard as you possibly can, then I don't know. I think it'll work.
Well, I think that's fair, and there's any number of things that could be said about that. But the reality is, it's like regardless of what occurs and where you end up, all of it is ultimately serving you and that person that you are at that point.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know what that next day has. That could be any number of scenarios.
And dude, we could die tomorrow, man. I think about that all the time. I'd be totally cool with it too, though. I feel like I've lived a pretty. That's the thing too. I pivot in life, right?
If you die, the only people you're not going to be disappointed about.
I don't know.
You won't care. I mean,
my mom, my girlfriend, my dog would probably be pretty bummed out. I think my dog.
Well,
would be the most
so
bummed
to
out.
jump back, if you had no audience, you could be making all these decisions and no one would give a shit. However, you do have a bit of an audience. What has been the reception through some of these different milestones along the way? Do you have a supportive crowd? What has been that kind of experience?
Dude, it's like, it's so, I mean, because you do the social media stuff as well. I've read your comments. They are a lot more friendly than a lot of the ones. But listen, dude, I've been doing it for 10 plus years. And I did it from like a pretty, like, I feel like I was pretty young when I started when I was 16. And I'm 26 now. And I remember like when I first started, dude, it would eat me alive. If I saw a negative comment, I'm like, I would be like, I'm going to find that person. I'm going to go to their house and see if they will say it to my face. And then now I'm just like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because I know, and then this is like something I always said when I was filming the YouTube videos. I would post a YouTube video and there's hate comments. I go, you're watching my YouTube video and you're leaving a comment about how you don't like it. Don't watch it. There's tons of videos that I watch that I don't like. I've never once in my life thought to comment on someone's YouTube video, unless it was for support. Like I comment on your stuff all the time. I'll comment on all our friends' stuff all the time. I love to be super supportive of my friends because I know from doing it for so long, seeing one of your buddies be like, yo, that was rad, yo, that was awesome, that goes a long way for somebody. It keeps them motivated to keep doing what they're doing, and I love that. But if I don't like a video, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, yo, dude, that was whack. You should never post that. I'm like, that ain't good. Like, because who is my, like, why does my opinion matter like enough like for that? You know what I mean? Like if it was my true friend and I saw him do something weird, I might like talk to them personally, but I would never comment it on a YouTube video. Like I never understood that. But yeah, I've had some, dude. This is a perfect, dude. This is the perfect example, and she won't be mad at me because she loves it. My girlfriend and me went on a 2.5-month road trip. So like right before we moved here, we had done a 2.5-month road trip in my van, and we went all around the East Coast, and I had filmed all of it. It was just like me, my girlfriend, and my dog in my van. And we were going to mountain bike parks. We were going in like nature walks. It was cool. Like we didn't film like all the stuff that me and her did together, but any like the stuff that was like kind of BMX related, where I thought my fans would be kind of into, like that watch the channel. It feels so weird saying fans. I wish I didn't even say that. Like don't like that word. But anybody who followed me and that was watching my YouTube videos, I was like, oh, they'd be into this. We go film it.
Fans are friends you haven't met yet.
That's it. I like that. But my girlfriend was filming me at this mountain bike park. And for any of you guys don't know, if you've never filmed BMX or mountain biking or anything like that kind of stuff, you don't know where our bodies are going to go next. If you've rode BMX your whole life, you're going to know how to film BMX. It's the same thing with like a lot of things. Like if you've never watched golf and you watch a guy hit a ball, you're not going to be able to follow the ball. So my girlfriend did a terrible job filming me. And like, one of the, like, all the comments were like, who the hell did you have filmed this? Stevie Wonder or something like that? And it was like all these blind comments.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and she was like, I didn't even read them. Because I later on in my like YouTube thing adopted the post and ghost. Mm-hmm. I would post, and I used to love to respond to people's comments because I felt like it was really cool to do that to people. And then I realized that for me to continue the longevity of this career, I had to post and ghost, because even when you're trying to respond and you're trying to do the nice thing by being nice to people, you will see that one comment. It could be 100 really nice comments and 5 super bad comments, and you're going to fixate on those 5, and it's going to ruin everything. So I adopted the post and ghost. I told my audience I was doing that. I was like, I don't want to read the negative comments, but I'm also not going to respond to the good ones anymore, and I apologize. For me, in my own like mental state, I just feel like this is better. Yeah. So I didn't read these comments. And I remember sitting there driving in the van back to the next spot we were going to, and my girlfriend's like, oh my God, how have you done this for so long? And I go, what? She's like, they're saying that like this is worse than a blind person filming. And like they were just roasting her. And I was reading the comments, and I was like, read them out to me. And they were so freaking fun. They were bad, but they were so funny, dude. Yeah. And I just start laughing, and she's like, how do you think that's funny? I go, because who cares? Yeah. That's some dude sitting on his keyboard talking shit. I was like, let him do it. Yeah. Guess what? We're driving a van around the whole East Coast with not a worry in our heads, just having the best time ever. And once I adopted that mentality, I didn't care. But like, it's so funny. Like the support is weird, because you have some people that are super, super supportive. And then you have some people that are just like out there to be like, you fell off. Like when I moved here, dude, like I filmed the video saying, this is what I'm doing. Thank you for all the great times. And like, who knows what the future holds? Mm-hmm. Who knows? I had no idea. And I was like, this is what I want to do. It's been a lifelong dream. The outpour of support that I had was so awesome. Mm-hmm. But there was also like, I would say the 90% was absolutely supportive. I think this would be perfect for you. I totally think this is great, like something for you to do long term, and you would love it. And this, all things led up to this. It was really, really great, positive, growing comments. But then you have this 10%. And it's super hard not to focus on those 10%, especially when you are embarking on something so new. And not only was that hard, but like the people that I was surrounded with in the place where I used to live, 90% of them were very supportive and 10% of them were not. And like that doesn't matter. Like it hurts way more when it's people in you know in your life than comments. But dude, like I'm not gonna lie, like comment. I'm sure you've read comments before. You're like, well, that's really shitty. Like it just ruins your day.
That wasn't very nice.
Yeah, it just ruins your day. But once you realize, I'm like, well, if I listen to this dude or girl or whatever it is behind the camera and behind the computer, whoever's comment, it could be a kid, it could be a mom, it could be a dad, it could be an adult. 90% of the time it's adults, which is hilarious. A lot of times it's kids, like you don't know. I have no idea who this person is. It's like freaking Sleepy Breeze 49 said, you suck ass and you fell off. Moving to Georgia is the worst idea ever. Yeah, it's Sam's profile. And you're like, I don't know who you are, but some reason your comments hurt my feelings. I'm like, if you second guess yourself and what you think you should do because of a comment of a hidden person that has no identity and they'll never, ever see them in real life, then I don't know what to tell you, because I struggled with it too when I first moved here, and I wasn't even posting videos, but I would still get like a little notification on my YouTube like, oh, this person said, what happened to you, dude? Like, pretty damn shame. Like, and they'd be like, just like every other BMX rider that falls off, or like, oh, like this channel died like everybody else's channel.
It's always such a wild, and it's not specific to BMX or anything I do. Like when you I think everybody's an artist.
Yeah.
Everybody is an artist. We just have different mediums of whatever it is. If we're a builder,
Yeah.
if you're a fabricator, if you're a painter, if you're a BMX, you name it, a fucking engineer, a IT. Like everybody finds art in all their different ways. But when people find ways or reason to put people down or defame someone because they aren't doing what they themselves can't do, it's always frustrating to me. And so even though I agree with you and not letting people put you down and taking what they're saying to heart, it does still hurt. There are
it sucks.
pieces, and so it's unique because we'll have this conversation, and the timeline as it is, you're 26, I'm 36, very young. The idea that, like, as you just describe things, you make it seem like, that was that time, and that was like, bitch, that was like just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That you're still navigating these things, and so I admire, and we hang out obviously because you do it with a smile. You don't victim mentality, get sucked into all that and doom and gloom because it doesn't serve any purpose. But I get to now see firsthand how it plays out.
Yeah.
And so I'm still curious too. Like, even with the fan support, things are still happening now. And so even specific to, you're still a BMX rider. You're not going to get any worse at riding BMX. You're only, you can get better. You still hop on the bike. But what is it when the community and a lot of these different facets, like where the how you see the sport going? Like, so just a couple weeks ago, or when was it, with Swamp Fest?
Yeah, that was like, last weekend? Or whenever this video comes out, probably like a weekend and a half ago or something like that.
Yeah, so that's just a whole gaggle of humans that you relate to. And then there's friends involved, and does it feel alien to you, or does it feel like, what is that relationship now?
No, man. It doesn't feel alien. Like, I think that, like, and again, I don't know. Like,
say as much or as little as you want, because
no. Well, so this is a funny thing. I was there's this event that's a BMX event that, like, all my friends would be at, and like it's a massive BMX, all BMX would be at, and like
a big reunion type thing?
Yeah, and I wanted to go to it, and then I just realized at a certain point in time, I was like, I'm not going to this for me. I'm going to this to prove that I'm still a part of a thing that, like, I obviously know that I'm still a part of.
Yeah.
Like, I still ride my bike all the time, and that's where I have to learn as I get older. Like, if you're going to, like, go to something because you think that you need to show your presence so that people know that you're there, you're not doing that for you. You're doing that for them. And then I realized, I'm like, I'm so focused on the stuff that's going on here, and this is my ultimate goal right now. I know I'm a BMX rider. I don't need to show anybody I'm a BMX rider. Mm-hmm. I'll go to the damn skate park and ride my bike by myself for hours and love it. Like, dude, I do it all the time. Like, and nobody here even knows. Like, I go to the skate park all the time, and very rarely will I go to the gym in the morning super early. Mm-hmm. And if I have nothing going on or no one's called me to go do something, on the way back from the gym, I'll go pop in my house, grab my bike, and I'll hit the skate park that's really close to my house, mm-hmm. and I'll ride for sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes an hour. It really depends on how I'm feeling. And I'll try to ride as much as I can. The cold makes it sucks. But, like, yeah, I mean, it feels weird not being directly associated with that stuff anymore. But in my head, I just, like, I guess I hit a point where I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Because
I know what I want to do in life. And if I hold on to that past life, I joke and call it my past life. It's so, like, I'm desensitized to the kind of, like, that kind of stuff. I feel like I call it my past life because it is. I have a new goal that I want to do, and I'm super passionate about it. And it's been a lifelong dream, and I know that, like, if I work hard, I'm going to try my absolute hardest to make everything work. And if I hold on to this thing that was in the past that I know that I'm not letting go of, I'm never not going to be this thing. It's always going to be a part of me. But if I can't be like, I don't need to focus as much on it right now, and I need to focus on this, then this thing is going to get hindered. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn to, like, let go of that thing, because it's like there's tons of BMX riders there's tons of people. It doesn't matter if whether think about this. Like, I think about it all the time. Like, I was saying somebody the other day. People who work normal jobs, which is something that I've never wanted to work a 9-to-5 because of the person I am. I think there's people out there on this planet that are built differently. You have your artists who would never sit at a desk. Mm. Then you have your people that are like, I want a really good job security and I want to work 9-to-5 and I have no problem just going to work every single day and doing the same, like, life thing. I don't want that. I'm not saying I'd never want to do it. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. But I don't think that if I had an option or a choice with this life, I'd rather live with no money and not do that than live with all the money in the world and do that. I just don't want to do it. So it's like, I think if you just, it's like, it's so hard to say. Like, you just do the things that, like, you want to do, and you learn to let go of that. And it's like, people work jobs where you work for this company for 5 years. And then you get a promotion, you go to that company for 5 years. And then you get a promotion, you go to that company for 5 years. And you just keep doing it. That's essentially the same thing that's going on with me, except I didn't work a normal job where you like work for JP Morgan, and then you're like, oh, I work for TD Bank, and then I work for Wells Fargo. Every time you do that, you make friends and families that you call people really close to at these jobs, and then you move on to the next job. And it's like, again, that's life. You're going through life, and you're getting ping-ponged, but everyone has a different view of it. Like, it's just weird. It's like hard to say. It's like, but like, if you went from JP Morgan to TD, and you kept talking about all the people at JP Morgan all the time, the people at TD be like, what the fuck's this dude's deal? Like, who cares about JP Morgan? Well, you're at TD now, dog. Like, get on the TD program. Yeah. And it's the same thing with this. It's like, if you hold on to your past, you know deep down inside what you've done and what you've accomplished. You don't need to tell people what you've done and accomplished. You just need to know it. Because at the end of the day, no one gives a shit. Yeah. Because everyone's done really cool things, and no matter who you are. I don't care if you are like the most boring human being ever. In your eyes, whether you read 365 books in a year, or you went skydiving every single day for a year.
I had a really good cheesy gordita crunch the other day. Like,
there you go.
That was a freaking artist back there.
That could be
10
your thing.
out of 10 Taco Bell.
Some people doing that could be their thing. That's super badass. So
well,
it's
like what you say, like what I hear you saying, and from my perspective, it's like the frustration people find is when they're in pursuit of something like 9-to-5 jobs, bless them, because they want the security to raise kids, to have a wife and family, to go on big vacations or whatever the actual goal is. I think people get frustrated when they do the thing they think is for this, but they're getting confused along the way. It's like, I don't need the big house, the big car, the fancy new, the whatever, because that's not my desire. It's not my pursuit.
No.
And I would be very frustrated if that's what I wanted, doing what I do. I would be very unhappy because I'm like, I'm never getting the big house. I'm never getting the fancy car because I'm doing the art thing over here. It does not pay like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just when you confuse those channels where it's like, somebody on YouTube is lambasting you because, you're doing that, when it's like, if that's what you want to do, come do it.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at yourself and me because you're not.
Yeah. No,
Don't get confused.
It's so crazy too. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it's just like, people get so fixated on money, and like I agree, money, you need it, everyone needs it, but like I think that money is a tool to do cool shit. And it's like, if you treat it like that, but like at the same time, if you do something that you're truly passionate about, and you can master that thing, and you can figure out your lane in that item or whatever that thing is, and you can not only will it not feel like work, it'll be something you truly love, and the money will come. And also at the same time, you got to remember that you might have to sacrifice how much you get paid, because if you're a lawyer and you're making $300,000 a year, that's badass. But like, then you miss out on things like time with your family, and like going on an adventure, like going for a fucking hike on the weekend because you're sitting there looking through documents.
It's all about choices.
It's all about what you want in life. And for me personally, I've never really been a money-driven person, and then I think like at the same time, but like I'd be fully transparent. Moving here to Georgia and like stepping away from that life that I was once doing is very, very difficult, because that's so comfortable. Like moving here and getting involved in this industry and realizing that like, oh, this is not going to be, like I never thought it was going to be like a walk in the park. I knew it was going to be really difficult, and it still is really difficult, but I can know like I need to bust my ass as hard as I possibly can. Like, but it's really hard not to look back at the thing that was working and is really comfortable. And people do that. You're like, oh, comfortability is just a short step to the left, or I can keep trying to go down this path to the right, and it sucks. But then I shift, like this move and this transition in my life taught me so much, where it's like, sometimes when I would wake up and I go, this sucks. I go, but you know what? I'm glad it sucks, because it's like teaching me something about patience. It's teaching me something. And the thing about it too is like, the BMX stuff didn't happen overnight either. That was a hard ass battle too. I just don't remember the battle. All I can see is the comfy life back there, where I'm like, oh, that's it. But I forgot about the battle. I'm in the battle again, and I'm working my ass off. But every time you say like something's hard, or I don't like this, or it's like oh, that sucks, I'm glad. Like, it's good that it sucks. So you're feeling something, you're learning something, you're growing as a person. And it's like it's like when it's like something's hard, you're like, I'm happy for it to be hard. Well, and it's a blessing that something is hard. It's a blessing that I get to keep trying this thing. Like, I'm lucky to get to try this goal.
Yeah. If you don't know something, if there isn't if there isn't a disappointment, if there isn't a metric of that, then you're not going to know when you have it in a good place, and equally how that should feel and there in between. But that's a really great mindset to keep, and that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone here too, like that I've met in Georgia, like I've been very, very fortunate. Like, and I say it again, like I'll take the time on this podcast to say, like, every single person here that I've met has been so super supportive of everything like that, and it's just been like I fell into, again, things are hard because you're trying something new. And you're getting involved in something that's completely foreign to you, and you can see the comfortability back there. But mind you, like, getting involved in this and taking a step back and realizing that, like, take away money, take away all the other things, and focus on what really matters in life. It's like the people that you're around, the experiences that you're having. Mm-hmm. This past year has been one of the most interesting years of my life. But I will say it's been one of the happiest years of my life, where I go, everything I've ever had happen in life has like prepared me for this. And then I'll probably have this again at some point else in my life. But it's like the people that I have met and the experiences I've had this past year have been so fucking awesome. Where I'm like, it showed me that, like, I'm lucky to get to be here. And I'm lucky to be able to, like, go through these times that are sometimes hard, sometimes happy, sometimes good. And it's like, if something's hard, good. Bring it the fuck on. Like, I'm here for it. Let's do it. Because it's, like, I'm lucky to, like I always say, like, I post on my Instagram sometimes, like, wake up, and, like, I think about it, too. Like, I go, another day on the right side of the dirt. I don't even know if it's the right side of the dirt. Maybe the other side of the dirt is the right side of the dirt. But I'm going to say above the dirt, it's the right side of the dirt. You know, and I'm saying, like, we're so fortunate for it. It's like, I've had so many things go on in life where it's like, I get ping pong this way, ping pong that way, ping pong this way, and I'm like, dude, it's just like, I sound so weird. I feel like I sound like a hippie right now almost, where I'm like, man, I'm just here to live, but that's it. Like, that's it. We're fucking atoms, dude. We are atoms.
And you're scuba certified now.
And I'm scuba certified. Never in my life did I ever think I'd get scuba certified. And man, again, what an amazing. We went and did that.
It was a great time.
It was hilarious. Sam nearly died of heat exhaustion, and I felt like I could talk to fishes at a certain point.
Well, I think the idea of like being a hippie or whatever, like eliminating expectation in all things is the fastest way to find that happiness that you're looking for. And even as we talk about coming into a space and being bad at stuff, and like, you got to suck before you get better. It's always interesting coming across people that get jaded or bitter in whatever industry you're in, because they lose sight of that perspective. They forget why they're doing it, what they're ultimately for. Like, their motivations are all askew. And so it's probably interesting for people to meet guys like us that are like, wow, you just don't seem to give a shit about, like, you're like, oh no, I'm just here for a good time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's like,
obviously I have desires, wants, and needs, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. So let's go.
And I feel like I've been that way since I was like a kid, man. I was just like always just doing some weird shit, man. Like,
when that was that a company name? Be Weird. What was that?
When I was doing the YouTube stuff, I started a company called Be Weird. And it was basically the merchandise to, like, counteract the lack of monetization through YouTube. But it was something I was super into. I was like, be weird, like, and I didn't even know I didn't know what it meant. And I had to say that I sat there in my buddy's basement one time when I was living in Jersey, and I had this saying that I wrote down on a notepad. I don't know what the hell brought me to this. I said, weird is normal, and normal is weird. And, like, what I thought about, like, I sat there and I'm like, why did I write that? And then I'm like sitting there, like, if you think about it, weird is this. Now everyone's like, yo, this dude's fucking nuts, dude. Yeah. Like,
what's in that C4?
Weird is normal, because it's like everybody, like, so weird is normal and normal is weird. So, like, everybody wants to say that they're normal. I think that's weird as shit. And I think that if you want to be different, that's normal. It's normal to be different than everybody. It's normal to have your own path. It's normal to do your own thing. And, like, for some reason, I remember, I don't know what the fuck I was doing, where I sat in my buddy's
probably
basement.
Drinking a julep.
Yeah, no. At this point, I think I was like, you know what I was at this point? I was in heavy diet mode, and I was probably dying of starvation of calories.
You were fasting.
I was fasting. I was probably all
That's
loopy.
how you see some
I remember writing it in this notepad, and I wrote it in this font. I remember that was the first shirt I ever made. It was in this really shitty, like, it was the worst shirt ever, dude. It was terrible. People liked it, though. It was awesome. I was stoked. But I remember being like, weird is normal, normal is weird. And, like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like I've always lived my life like that, where it's like, it doesn't matter who you are, as long as you're doing what you want to do in life and you love it and you're going to put your all into it, then shit.
I think when we go into rooms or new situations, like we're so attracted to, me and you specifically, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That we like the weird. We seek it out because it's always such a.
Me and you feed off of each other this shit, man.
Because it's always the best thing. If I want to hang out with someone that's like everyone else, then like that's exactly as you described. It's weird. Like, why are you trying to be like everyone else? Like that's really like funky. Versus someone that's just so innately themselves. I'm like, however it's coming, who's to say that I'm you know, I've got it figured out and I'm doing the right thing, whatever they're doing, as different as I could see it, but I want to know what that is.
Me and Sam live for these moments. And I thought I was really good in these situations, but Sam might be like the MVP of all MVPs in the situation. Sam will scan a room and he'll be like, that's some crazy shit going on over there. And I'm right there for it too. And I'm like, like, we'll go out and we'll go to like, just like walk down the street and there can be some bizarre shit going on. And you can bet your ass that me and Sam are like, right there. Yeah. What's going on? What are we doing? And we'll just get fully involved in it. And I think about it all the time, like I think the reason we do it is like, that's way more interesting than like the people just sitting there in a circle talking gossip about what's going on in the work week. Yeah. This, like we were walking the Beltline the other day, and this dude is riding down the Beltline in a pair of rollerblades, and he is singing, I think, a Katy Perry song out at the.
No, it was Sia.
Was it Sia?
Yeah.
At the highest.
Chandelier.
Is that what it was? I thought it was Katy Perry. I thought he was saying like a paper bag in the wind or something like that. But me and Sam both like we were having a full-on conversation, and we just both stopped talking. And we're just like, we were like looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, oh, we got to go where that's going. And we're like, holy shit, and we love it. It's so good. But that's what's fun, man. Like life is all about that shit. If I wanted to sit here and live a really basic life, that would be super easy. But living this stuff that's super random, you're like, this is great. I love this. Throw me a curveball, I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't remember what the saying is, but it's like people who talk about, you know, what is I'm gonna butcher it, so I shouldn't even say it. But it's like people that talk about people, you're not talking about anything. Like people that talk about, you know, events or things, like all right, you're having a little better conversation. People that talk about ideas, that's conversation. Yeah. Like, you know, really some deep shit versus just like surface level, you know, gossip, as you say, or whatever the random bullshit on TV is. It's like, let's have a real fucking conversation. Let's not do the boring.
And that's like one thing I feel like definitely too is like as I fucking hate saying as I get older. I don't know what the fuck happened though. Like I swear to God, when I was 21, dude, I also am cursing a lot.
Be careful what you say, by the way.
I know. When I was like 21, I was a very basic person, and then now that I'm 26, I'm like, I like to experience it all, where I'm like, bring it, because I'm like, I think the other thing is you naturally get older, you stop giving a shit about all the things that you think you used to give a shit about, and now you're like, oh no, none of that mattered. All this really random stuff is what's really gonna make these memories. And you're like, you think about it, you got a clock, dude. Like, you got a natural born clock. We're all here for a certain amount of time. Like, I don't want to be stuck with the dudes talking about freaking X, Y, and Z. I want to be with the dude who's singing the freaking Sia song ripping down the road. I'm like, bring it on, dude. Where are we going?
Well, that's an exact reflection of what you're already in pursuit of, which is more understanding yourself more and not limiting and constraining your thoughts and ideas to simple things. And that's what it's sad at sometimes to see is like you start out as a baby and everything is scary and the world is big and you know you need to be taken care of. And then you grow up, and then you're a big, strong 6'4" big boy, and then you start aging, and you get, you know, your world starts getting smaller again. And so then, if you haven't worked and found the ways for yourself to choose, to not close your mind, to not get small, to not get scared, you have to continue wanting to experience and inviting in the difficulty, inviting in the change, and finding joy in that. When you stop doing that, that's when things start getting scary and small, and you start getting angry and bitter, and then you're get off my lawn and like talk about taxes and
I will
what's
say
Biden doing today, boys?
I will say that I don't know what's happening the past year because I could easily sit in my house and just talk about pipes in my house, and it's so weird. But at the same time, though, it's like funny as hell. Like I remember, like this happened like a year ago. I was leaving a Wawa in Florida, and I'm on my way to go to the gym. And this lady's like, dude, it was pissing rain down, dude. It was so wet. And this lady comes up to me, and she's in this like pajama pants, and she looked, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude, she looked like she was having a rough go at it.
Yeah.
Covered in rain. And she goes, "You drive?" I go, it's like 7:30 in the morning. I go, "Yeah, I mean, I could drive. I drove here today." And she goes, "Can you drive me to the blood bank?" And I go, "Where is it?" And she goes, "It's up past the McDonald's." I look at her and I go, "Yeah, sure, why not? Hop in." Get her in my car, drive her to the blood bank. She tries to pay me in catnip, or like not catnip, cat food coupons to the store, to like a Publix cat food. And she's like, "Yeah, I used to be the international manager at whatever this like Purina brand was." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, sweet." And I'm like, "So what are you going to the blood bank to?" "I'm donating blood or plasma for some money." I go, "Oh yeah, I heard that's a really popular thing." And like she started talking to me, just like it was a lot longer ride than I expected.
Yeah.
And I remember just driving down the road. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, in my head, I had this like thought where I'm like, I am driving down the road right now, and I look over my right, and it's just this like really crazy looking lady that's like trying to go to the blood bank to donate blood for money. And I'm like, what a great start to the day, dude. I was like, this is
That's
awesome.
what this world can give us. And you can either look at that and say, fuck that person and she's lazy.
Yeah, I'm like, well,
or you can go, whoa.
Yeah.
And really start your day
Who
right.
knows? Maybe she was the international manager at Purina.
Maybe
I have no
she
idea.
was God, and she was just giving you a glimpse
She
into
had
like,
a lot of cat coupons where I was like, this is slightly believable. I'm like, not gonna lie, when you got a stack that thick, it's like, maybe you were the international manager at Purina. I go, I don't know what an international manager does. I was like, I also didn't know Purina was international.
Did it look good? Would you want to try it?
What, the Purina cat food? No, I'm not like you. Sam comes to my house every time and eats a dog treat. It's the weirdest shit in the world.
If it's good enough for my
I'm
dog,
a supporter
good
though.
enough for me.
Like I said, I'm down for the weird. You want to do some weird shit, I'm supporting it.
Oh boy. Oh, I had a thought too. Where was I going to take it? Oh shoot. Well, you were talking about your travel buddy. Me and TJ Tiffany. You've met him yet?
Yes, TJ's a good dude.
We were driving Route 66 on motorcycles, and we had both gotten these Harley 48s that are not dissimilar to this
Somewhat like the Indians?
Indian Scout Bobber with that similar seat, which is like, that is a single seat, and this is a small bike. And so we were riding, and we were somewhere in Texas. And
You both had bikes real quick, right?
both had bikes.
Okay.
We're not tandem.
I thought you guys were back to back. I was like, wow.
I ain't thought about it. But then, so at some point he had gone this way and I had gone this way. We had, whatever, it was just a morning.
Yeah.
And I got stopped at a light, and this dude's like, "Hey man, you going that way?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You give me a ride?" And I was like, "Yeah." This dude was 350 pounds.
Oh, sweet.
Big boy, getting on a bike like this, where I'm already on it.
So this is getting amped up.
It was just one of those things where I was like, I have the opportunity to, like, I could help this guy, and this could be a great service to him. And it's just, all it is going to be for me is a great story.
Yeah. What's the harm, dude? What is the harm?
Yeah. And people are like, well, he could have killed you. And I'm like, hey, he could have.
That's the same thing people said to me when I picked up this lady. I'm like, all right, come on. And I was like, also, be pretty sick if you got stabbed in a fucking car
Low
by
key,
a lady
if she
who
killed
had...
you, then that's on you. Like, we got to get your skills up.
I mean, but also at the same time, if she pulled out a gun and shot me, I'd be like, man, that'd be a great tombstone caption.
Everything in life is meant to be experienced, and it's all a story. It's all just how you look at it.
I think the other thing is so crazy too. It's like, I think that's why I'm okay with taking chances and just like knowing that if I try my hardest at something, I could make it go. Because I'm like, tomorrow might not be here. Like I always think about that too. And like, I've had a few things in my life that like have like really, really reality checked that, where I'm like, certain things have happened with my family and friends where it's like you see them, one day they're there, one day they're not, one day they're able to do certain things, one day they're able not to, and I'm like, whoa, this life that we have is crazy. Mm-hmm. Like anything can happen, like anything can happen, and like that's where I say like where it comes into, it's like anything you put your mind to, you could do. But at the same time, you could also wake up tomorrow and your life could be completely different, not by your own decision. Mm-hmm. Like it's wild to think about, but that's the thing. And then another thing too is like whenever you think you're having a shit day, just really know out there is someone out there having a way, way worse day than you. And like if you got a roof over your head and you got people in your life that give a shit about you, you are like, don't complain. Like, do not even open your mouth and have a word. Like, and it's okay to feel shitty and like, man, today sucked. Like, I get that. Like,
all feelings are valid, guys.
everyone, but I also don't like really like, no, that's not true. Like a lot of people bitch and complain about some really stupid shit where I'm just like, all right, dude, like you want to talk about negative things? Like, and I think truly like one of the biggest eye openers was like my buddy that I, grew up with and was like, before I met him, like he was a local New Jersey legend. Like he was one of the best BMX riders of all time. And I ended up growing up and becoming friends with him and then starting a YouTube channel with him and, spent every single day with him. And he was the best of the best when it came on a BMX bike. And one day we went on the road and he ended up becoming quadriplegic.
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to talk about, holy shit, imagine you knock yourself out, go in a coma for a few weeks, and you wake up and you can't move a single limb on your body. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, when you talk about not getting that job or fucking up on that interview, it's like, all right, here we go. Like,
well,
you don't
so
even know,
I guess when I say all feelings are valid, every feeling is valid. It's what you then choose to do with that feeling. It's just to inform you. And so your buddy had that experience, and so he had many feelings about that. They were all very valid. It is then his choice. He could either live in a certain way, or you can choose to live in, and so that's to say that you have your bad interview. It's like, all right, you had a shit interview. You either like move on from it.
Yeah, or you just like dwell on it for days.
That's what I mean to say, that all feelings.
But like I always say, it's like, whenever you're having a bad day, there's someone out there that is having like a way. Like I saw this is really super random, but I remember seeing this Instagram video, and this is like a moment in time where I'm like, oh man, social media really hit me hard today. This is a good one. It was like a video of like, it was like the Earth. It was like from space. And it was a camera that just kept going down, down, down. Next thing you see, like you see the stars, and you're like, oh, you see the Earth. Then you're like, oh, you see a state. Then it's like Montana, and then you keep going in. It's like, oh, the city and the state. And then it's like, oh, there's a neighborhood, and then oh, there's a house, and then inside of it's like a girl crying in her shower, and it's like nobody gives a fuck about you. I'm just like, dude, that is 100% the truth. Like you could have the worst day ever and be like just mentally distraught. It's like no one gives a shit. Like everyone else is still going. So I'm like, why should you give a shit? Just keep going like everybody else.
Well,
that might be not a good way to think about it.
While we're not giving a shit, what do you give a shit about specific to, assuming you're always going to be a BMX guy, right? You're moving into a new avenue with stunts, which is still applicable to BMX, and then you've spent a decade creating a identity with a channel and an audience. What do you foresee? Because you may not know now, but what is a potential of what that could look like? Is that something that you've tossed around? Is it like something you're thinking about? Like
I think for me, man, I like after doing all this stuff for so long and just truly figuring out what I want in life, and I realized that like between living in a van for a year and a half and living on countless couches and living that BMX life where you're taking road trips and staying like random like hotels like with a bunch of buddies and experiencing that life and all that, and like now having my girlfriend and my dog and like a house here, and I'm like, I just want to like get to the point where I can go work my ass off and work really, really hard and then hang up the shoes at the end of the day and just go spend time with the people that I love and care about, and just like enjoy that, and then enjoy the time with people and be able to go laugh and just do that. Like I have an uncle that I've always felt very, very, very similar to. His name's that's my Uncle Dan, and he's like, we look alike, we think alike, and this is fucking crazy, dude. This is nuts. I didn't know this until recently. Turns out he was in SAG as well. He was doing some sort of like scaffolding job in Canada or some random stuff like that. And then he got hit up and he had to do some work in some other in the U.S. something like that. And then something came along where they were doing a commercial, and then he ended up getting a SAG card somehow through that, or I forget exactly what the whole thing was, but he was in SAG, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But he was a union scaffolder for so long, and him and they never got like legitimately married, but like they're together. They've been together for 50 years, and now he retired from doing the union scaffolding, and he builds airplanes for himself. Like he builds his own airplanes and sells them, and he always is into some random cool shit that he's like super passionate about, and he gets hyper fixated and hyper focused on. And I'm like, I think if I had the ultimate life, it'd be like, does that mean it's done?
It was just a text.
Okay. I think if I had the ultimate life, or like see like myself, like end goal would be to be able to work in this industry and do like the same. I like the creative aspect of it. It's like when you go out and ride BMX, what I always like to do is go out and film clips. I go to like a roof spot and be like, I'm gonna do a flip off this roof, and you get your buddy down there filming it. You're figuring out how to make it look good. The same thing with stunt, with doing like some sort of like fall or something like that, or like some cool thing where it's like it's a creative aspect of it. Like, how can I make this look good for this thing? And I love that. I want to go work my ass off in that and learn everything I can about this side of the industry and work as hard as I can, and and have a good time doing it. But then at the same time, also use that to be able to set myself up to where like I can enjoy life with my friends that I meet in this industry, and then also with like my girlfriend and my dog and just my house, and just be able to just like, and like again, like money doesn't mean shit to me. So like if I can make enough to pay my bills and be able to enjoy experiences with people, that's ultimately where I'm like, okay, cool. Because like I've had years where I've made great money, and then I've had years where I've made no money, and like, to be quite honest with you, some of the years where I've made no money have been the fucking best.
Yeah.
And some of the years where I've made really good money have been the worst.
Well, so I mean, I hear what you're saying, and like the life you want and how you see it playing out, that would be the version of it. But I guess the question I have is more, is there a version of it that cameras are rolling in a fun way? It's not because it needs to be, because that's how
you're saying
money.
like would I ever do the old stuff again?
Not even the old stuff. Like it's definitely going to be new stuff. It's definitely the life you live now.
Yeah.
But
No,
it's a similar version of like a public-facing experience.
I haven't really bounced that one around yet, man. Like I've said, I'm dropping that, and I'm putting full focus into this. I'm going 100% in. I don't know what 5 or 10 years does. I don't think the days of me going like, hey guys, we're here, we're doing that. I don't think that'll happen again. Mm-hmm. But like, whether I want to admit it or not, dude, I love being creative. And like, I'm not an artist. I suck ass at doing art. But like you said, everyone's an artist. I've always liked coming up with ideas and putting full effort into it. And whether it be like something that I've recently learned here with you guys is like filming these like little short things where you like do fights. I'm like, I'm super into it. I'm like, this is badass. Like doing like the just doing that, coming up with a bunch of your friends. It's the same thing as going out and filming a BMX video. It's identically the same thing. Like you go out, like, I'm gonna go here and do this clip. Okay, we're gonna go here and we're gonna do these fight beats, and we're gonna make it, we're gonna produce it, and it could suck or it could be great, or people could hate it, people could love it. I'm like, I love that creative aspect. I think that like if I had an ultimate goal, and this has nothing to do with like obviously stunt stuff, like I've always been super into doing like the mountain bikes and the cars and all that stuff, and like hopefully down the road, like if there's a world where I could see anything happening, it's like, go and just have like a little shop at my house where I work on my bikes and I work on my cars, and maybe if to be honest with you, man, like I would love to have, someone, when I first moved here, someone says, what motivates you? Because it's not money. Like there was a person that I had met along the ways who was like in a position that was like really good, and they've been in the industry for a long time, and they asked me, they just straight up asked me, they go, what motivates you? Because it's not money. Mm-hmm. Because I would go and do things for people because I wanted to do them, and I see value in experience, and I see value in spending time with people that are like really good at something, and I enjoy that knowledge, and I enjoy that learning experience. And they asked me that question, and I go, and my first initial reaction was, I go, it's because I don't want to ever look at this again because I have to. I want to look at this because I want to.
Right.
Not because I have to. And that was like such a weird thing for me, where I was like, it's as true as it sounds like. So I think if I really had to answer that question, it's like, I don't think I'd ever want to do it again if I didn't have to.
Okay.
But I also do think that there's value in like, I don't know. But that's such a tough one.
I guess I asked the question because I already know. I already knew the answer.
I hate the idea of social media. And
No. And so like,
I think it's poison, man. I think it's poison. I think we're all fucked.
The way I asked the question.
Don't get me going tinfoil hat in your podcast, man. Listen, too much Joe Rogan, okay, dude?
I think
shit.
I ask it because I am curious of what we don't have the answer right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the same boat. And we could talk about any number of things, but the idea that sometime in the future, how we operate together, how our worlds look, not specific to me and you, not specific to any number of things, that I'm just like, I just like to humor at times the idea that something comes back in a way where it's just fun.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Like
That
if I could do it for fun, that'd be great.
Yeah, like something presents itself that's like, oh, you know what?
But how much more fun is it just to go do the thing without having to put a camera on it? And that's where I get, because here's the thing. Like I said this something the other day. Like they were all getting like sweets after we got food or whatever, and I didn't want the sweets. They're like, well, you don't want anything? I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, whoa, such discipline. I'm going, listen, dog, I fucking have eaten everything under the sun that was like shitty for me. I did my time. I don't need it anymore. I'm over it. Like I burnt myself out on sweets. Like I'm not a big sweets person because I was a big sweets person, and now I'm not. But it's the same thing with like the social media. It's like I don't think anything negatively about it. If you're into it, you're into it. Good for you. I also think that if you're rocking 8 hours of screen time a day and there's 24 hours a day and you're sleeping for hopefully a solid 6 to 8 of them, and you're doing another 8, that's what, 16 hours a day of like non-paying attention to life, and all you have is a couple hours left. Yeah. Like that's a crazy, that's nuts, dude. You have 8 hours a day where you're present. Yeah. And the rest of it's unconscious or unconscious technically. You know what I mean? Like, and I started to think too, it's like, I've already done the social media stuff, so I've experienced it. It was cool. It was fun. I'm over it. And now, like, if I could have anything, it's like, it sounds super crazy, but I want to go to work my ass off, do the best job I can do, have people recognize and respect me for my capabilities and my passion for what I want to do. And then at the end of the day, when they say, hey, you're good, go home, I'm going to go, all right, I'm going home. I'm going to grab myself a freaking beer or Truly or whatever the hell I want in my house. I'm going to sit on my couch with my girlfriend and my dog, and I'm going to just enjoy life and do my thing. And then on the weekends when everyone's off or people are off, go to the lake or do stuff like that. It's like, and not have to freaking be like, oh my God, so-and-so's on the lake doing this crazy thing. And like, I gotta film it because the world's got to see it. And like, I understand that people love to do that. And like, again, I want to do it because I want to do it. And that's the thing. I think once I get past that weird thing where like I feel like I have to do it and I can just do it because I want to, which I feel like I'm pretty freaking close, where like I don't really post a lot on social media that much anymore. Other like than weird shit like my dog like fucking looking all crazy in my bed. I'm like, I want to post that. I was like, that's what I want to post. Yeah. And I'm starting to do that more. So I think like I would post things because I want to, not because I have to. And then if it became fun again, like you were just saying before, well then hell yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. Like if I get back and get another car in Georgia and I start going to the drift track again, and it's all of us doing it, and I put a GoPro in the car and it's like me tandeming with one of my friends and it's like super badass and it's super fun. Or it's like I get all the guys to come to the skate park with me and like I'm filming that on Instagram and we're having the best time ever. If I'm posting it because I want to but not because I have to, then I'm down with it. That would be sweet. But I think I have to get over the idea of thinking mentally like, oh, I have to do this. And once I get past that, and I still have obligations to certain things that I have to do that will probably like, because there's certain brands that or friends that I've been friends with for years that I will support all the time. And then I also think that I would never go delete my Instagram because it's a tool, right? Like social media is a tool. I think if you use it as a tool, it's good. I think that if you rely on it, it's bad. If you use it as a tool to like put yourself in it's a form of.
I think it's anything. If you're using the tool, then you're using the tool. Yeah. If the tool is using you, then you are the tool.
Yeah, that's the perfect thing. And you got to remember, like the reason that all this was created was for communication between individuals. You can share photos, somebody can like it. It's communicating. I think at a certain point, though, if you let that communication take over your life, it's no longer a tool, like like what we're just talking about. So I think like if I can get it to where it's like people can see, like, hey, like, oh man, that was really cool, like that thing, and then you be like, oh yeah, what you did was really cool too. It's great. But if you're like, if you find like the thing that used to suck was so bad is like I would know if I'm like, oh man, I haven't posted an Instagram clip in a couple days. I'm gonna go drive myself to the skate park, and I'm gonna go film a clip. And I'll sit at the skate park for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4, and try to get this clip, and it would ruin it. It would make the riding feel like a full-time job. And it was a full-time job at a certain point. But at the same time, it's like the reason I always got into what I was doing was because it was something that didn't feel like a job. And the second that I was like, oh my God, it's crazy. Like social media has changed the landscape of how people work, where it's like people go out to restaurants and instead of talking, they take a picture of their food and they post it. They're like, ooh, who's gonna be like, I'm at this restaurant right now. Like, oh, I'm so jealous you're there. Like, that's the thing. I think that happens. It's taken over people's lives. I think if we did like a 2-year ban of social media, the world would be a much happier place.
I'm here for it as I start my podcast.
But that, hey, no. Let me go back. That's different. Because we're having a conversation between two people right now.
Yeah.
This is like a genuine like thing. And like, I fucking probably didn't make sense through 90% of this conversation. Like I'm thinking to myself right now, I'm like, this is why I hate doing podcasts. I'm like, he'll ask me a question and then I like start ranting about this random thing.
No, this is a conversation that we're inviting others to listen in on. It is just the same as a YouTuber. It's like, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
But this is a way for me to learn about myself. Is when I talk to other people, I hear different insights, different ideas, and different perspectives, and that's what informs me. And so this is just the experience of it that I just happen to know.
But this is so much more natural than what a YouTube video is, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about it today, like I think podcasts could be like the saving grace of like the next generation, where it's like, dude, you could go watch a 15-minute video on YouTube of let's just put it this way, Mr. Beast, right? One of the most successful YouTubers of all time. Super talented guy, what he's doing, absolute marketing genius. Like, all the power to him. But if you're a consumer watching that video, what did you learn watching that video? Nothing. You just watch mindless bullshit go on. You watch a dude grind a Lamborghini and get 50 million views, but you're not learning anything. That's mindless fun, and there's a place and time for that. That's like movies, TV, and film. You turn your brain off for an hour, 2 hours, and you do it. But the craft of that has gotten even diluted because of guys like Mr. Beast. But when you watch a podcast, and Sam will know that I am in the top 1% of listeners of Joe Rogan. I did not miss a single podcast last year, and even the ones that were absolutely trash, I still listen to, and I love it. But it's like he interviews different guests. It's 3 hours long, and you have to be invested into it. And by the end of that 3-hour conversation, you've learned something about a topic, whether you gave a shit about the topic or not. You still learned something about that topic. Therefore, it was beneficial for you in your life, and you gained something for it. When you watch a Mr. Beast video, I would say that you maybe get a dopamine rush, which is cool. But then again, it's like you're not gaining any knowledge or any like learning or valuable information from a Mr. Beast video. You're watching a dude spend $1 million and grind a Lamborghini. Cool, but like ultimately, what the fuck? Like, you don't need that.
That's what I'm excited and eager to share with any individual that may come along for the ride, is that I can bring people in like you that come from a unique space in whatever world it is. Yours happens to be, X Games, BMX, and all things. That we get to learn a little bit about that. We get to learn a little bit about an interesting person, and then we get to hear me ramble about, whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Oh.
And just like that, it's time.
We're good. I gotta go pick up a buddy from the airport.
Back to work.
That's not work. That's fun though. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Again, every day's a different day. Do something random.
Yeah.
But I'm stoked.
I appreciate you coming back on, and I'll have you back on again. But that was a wrap.